Hey guys, Ash here from C4E Tech and welcome to the second episode of Weekends with Ash. So hey, I've got it right 2 weeks in a row on time. So this is where I'm going to be talking about everything that's happened in tech for the last week and what we can expect this week. So basically highlights from whatever's been happening with tech, which you guys very rightfully pointed out that it's been mostly about phones and phone brands, and it's gonna remain that way, but I'm not averse to covering other stuff. But one step at a time, let's get this running and then make changes, fine-tune stuff as time goes on. So any which ways, I don't want it to be just about launches and whatnot. So we'll start with something a little different. Yes, it's about a phone brand. Vivo India seemingly has tax evasion issues. So the word going around is that they have 62,000 crores that they've kind of funneled around 8 billion US dollars. They've funneled back into China, and that's kind of creating an impression of losses here to kind of evade taxes. And currently about 465 crore rupees, that's 58 million US dollars, has been seized by the Indian government. That's what they've had here. And of course, when these kind of things happen, we've heard this happen with Oppo, with Xiaomi, pretty much every Chinese brand. And as is the case, Vivo India's directors, just like that guy from Xiaomi, seem to have fled the country. So that's news, right? So hey, that's not a launch that I'm talking about. Well, they kind of launched out of India, but whatever it is. Now that said, it's a pretty messed up situation. We'll have more for you on how this plays out next week. But for now, let's move on to launches. Asus Zenfone 9 product videos kind of come out of the blue. Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1, no points for guessing that. Of course, it's Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1. What's happening here is it's going to be a more compact form factor. It's going to have the same IMX766 that we saw on the ROG phone, but this one's going to have 6-axis gimbal stabilization. So it's going to be, they're kind of leaning into the lifestyle aspect of things with the cases and whatnot. Some of the accessories, it appears to be interesting, and this remains the last compact flagship phone, the Zenfone lineup. It wasn't so compact a couple of years back or a couple of generations back, but the Zenfone 8 was basically, a Sony compact phone, right? Flagship specs, but it's not big. We don't really see a lot of those. So hey, that is something that you can expect. It's not going to be coming out this month. I really don't think if they intended to launch it this month, they'd have probably just launched it with the ROG. Since they've not, I'm expecting somewhere in August, fingers crossed. The next one, OnePlus 10T, we've got more leaks. This time it's the price. On UK, on Amazon, the pricing kind of went up and then it was taken down. The pricing that we saw for a moment there was £799, which is the same price as the OnePlus 10 Pro. So guys, when the OnePlus 10T, we talked about it last week, what went on in my mind was, hey, this time they didn't have a OnePlus 10, they only had the OnePlus 10 Pro. So the pricing wasn't, they've upped it a little bit and they only have the Pro. So we kind of expected a regular 10 to come out at a cheaper price. Now, instead of doing that, they're going to launch the OnePlus 10T. Yes, it's got a better chip, Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1, which would kind of justify the same pricing, at least in their heads. Now, that looks like what's going to be happening, because that £799 in UK, of course, it's not going to translate exactly the same way to other markets. UK is a pretty expensive market, but that's the same price the OnePlus 10 Pro launched at over there. So going by that, OnePlus 10 Pro, where we expected a 10, but that never happened. So the 10 Pro ended up being the only OnePlus phone you could buy at a certain price. Now that's going to be followed by the 10T, which is again going to be at the same price. Now probably with the 11, they'll again launch it at the same price, but then that'll be the OnePlus 11 and then have a Pro variant that's 10-15% higher. So OnePlus has been steadily hiking up their prices, and this looks like one more way of them doing it. But then again, as long as the phone is fine, it is what it is. So the phone seems to be fine. They're not going to have that ceramic to the back and all that. We spoke about it last week. 50 megapixel main camera, bundled charger, 150 watts seemingly. Base is 8128, AMOLED Full HD Plus though, 120 Hz. So yeah, what do you guys think about this? What do you guys think about this kind of escalating prices? Let me know in the comments. And okay, here's something super funny. I mean, do you guys remember Lava? I thought they were dead, but seemingly they weren't. Suddenly, a lot of people were talking about it. Well, money, I guess. Now, a lot of people, especially a lot of websites were reporting this out of the blue. Nothing Lava Dead was reported very extensively, but this one was the Lava Blaze. Seems to be this amazing new budget phone that, okay, maybe it's not amazing enough to put on your main channel, but it's good enough to put on your shorts channel. I don't know. Somebody'd probably give you 13 reasons why it's amazing or something like that. But the Lava Blaze seems to be super hyped, guys. I don't think anybody should buy it. Again, I'm just going off specs. It doesn't feel right in my head. It's a Helio A22, which is a starter chip from 2018. That's being launched in 2022 for 9,699. Yes, there's an initial 1,000 rupee offer where you're getting it for 8,700. People are pushing the narrative that it's got a glass back. That still doesn't mean, I mean, just think about it for a minute, right? Like in 2018, the Redmi 6A, if I remember correctly, had the Helio A22. Now that launched for 6,000 rupees. And 5 years later, this phone with the same chip is launching for about, what, 50% higher? Now, if you take the Snapdragon 845, which was the flagship chip in 2018, the Galaxy S9, it had the 845 or Exynos, whatever, the equivalent, that launched for 58,000 rupees. So 50% above that would be around 90,000 rupees. What could a brand offer today that would let you justify Snapdragon 845 on a phone for 90,000? What could they offer? I don't see anything being offered that would justify that. So it kind of feels like that. It kind of feels like, you know, people are typically very confused with MediaTek's chipsets. Now the recent Dimensity ones, they have a reasonably straightforward naming system. But before that, with the Helio and the MTK numbers they were going by, they were pretty confusing. So I guess Lava's kind of counting on that with their stupid marketing, pushing it through some news outlets, some websites and certain YouTubers. And hey, it just feels like a really stupid thing to push. And the funny part is, on some shorts that kept popping up on my feed, I saw people not even be confident enough to show the interface, where they're saying it's got stock Android and literally all you see on screen is like this slow-mo. They're afraid if they even swipe up a little bit more, you could see the stutter and lag probably. Again, I've not used it. I'm just going by what I think the A22 would perform today based on benches and my experience with the chip on other devices. Anyways, too much of a rant for too little a thing. Let's move on. Samsung. Okay, this is gonna be a rant. Okay, not really. Okay, there are leaks. A23 5G, Snapdragon 695. That's the leak. A04S, Exynos 850. These are supposed to be coming. There are BIS certifications that people have come across, so those might launch. Now officially M13 and M13 5G are coming, and here's other marketing that really drives me insane. If you look at Samsung's marketing material for this, monster 12 gigs RAM, and that's virtual RAM, so it's probably 6 gigs of RAM with 6 gigs virtual memory, or 8 gigs of RAM with 4 gigs virtual memory. As of now, it doesn't really hurt anything because 8 gigs is still plenty good for a M13 phone, or a 6 gigs is plenty good. But the way it's being pushed, big bold letters, 12 gigs RAM, and then a small asterisk somewhere saying it's virtual, that kind of annoys me. I don't know if I should be annoyed by it. You guys tell me, is there something you find frustrating? Do you find it kind of sort of misleading, or do you think it's okay? I don't know. Let me know in the comments again. Now from Samsung, as always, we jump to Apple. Not smartphone news. The MacBook Pro M2, the pre-orders globally start Friday, and it's supposed to start shipping a week later. Okay, it's already started. By the time you're watching this video, I'm shooting it on a Friday. So you'd be watching it on Saturday. So it should have already started. Unless I got the dates wrong. Anyways, I'll check if there's anything. If I said something stupid, I'll annotate it on screen. Starting Friday, shipping deliveries a week later, or shipping a week later. MacBook Pro M2, iPhone 14. There's some interesting news about it. So typically, Apple's plan was to have about 67% of the displays source them from Samsung, 27% from LG, and 5% from BOE, that is Beijing Oriental Electronics. Yes, that's a display manufacturer who Apple did use for some displays with the iPhone 13 series, but they actually made some change to the production without consulting with Apple, and that got them in trouble, which meant there was a little bit of comprehension on, would Apple again use them again for the iPhone 14, but seemingly them messing up is less of an issue for Apple than their reliance on Samsung and LG. So they're still going to go ahead and offer them about 5% of, source about 5% of the displays from them. So yeah, that's something Apple wants to really move away from, that dependency on Samsung and to a lower extent LG. So that's that. Now from there, let's move on to Xiaomi Redmi Poco. Poco has various discounts via Flipkart for some of their phones, which is not that interesting. But what is interesting is that the K50i is coming July 20th. This might actually be a rebranded Redmi Note 11T Pro Plus. If it ends up being that, it could be a great deal, because the Redmi Note 11T Pro Plus, come on. What's with the naming? At least I can't really complain because they are making the naming better, right? If it's the Redmi K50i, that's a better name. Anyways, Dimensity 8100, excellent chip. 6.6 inch Full HD Plus, 144Hz LCD, 64 megapixel primary stereo speakers. That is basically what you get with that Redmi Note 11T Pro Plus. If that ends up being the K50i, that would be pretty cool. So I don't know more about it. I'm just waiting along with you guys. That is something interesting I came across. The other interesting thing with Xiaomi is the 12S series has launched. Now this has a slight price hike, which I'll get to in a minute. What's the highlight here is that they are working with Leica. So yeah, any Huawei fans, let's take a moment of silence for that. But anyways, they are working with Leica. And what that means is that you're going to get a couple of modes, Leica Authentic and Leica Vibrant. When you're shooting pictures, the Vibrant is something Leica and Xiaomi have worked together to get that pumpy pop. The pumpy pop, what am I saying? The punchy, the poppy colors that people like for social media. The Authentic is more like a natural, that kind of filter or color profile rather. Now the primary is an IMX707, a 50 megapixel sensor, 1 by 1.28 inches. That's for the Xiaomi 12S and the 12 Pro. And the 12S and 12S Pro, the 12S Ultra, that's going to be that 1-inch sensor. So that is something I'm super excited for, because 1-inch sensors are the base of what I shoot my videos with. As in, I've got full frame cameras. This is a full frame video camera I'm shooting on Sony FX9. That's the A7S III that I use for some B-roll, most B-rolls actually. Sometimes when I'm shooting outdoors, I shoot on a ZV-1, and that's a 1-inch sensor. So when people say smartphone camera is as good as DSLRs, that's never going to be the case, because the sensors are much bigger. As of now, we are nowhere close. Yes, the final processed image could kind of match up to what you'd get unprocessed from certain DSLRs, but if you know what you're doing, you're always going to be able to get better pictures with a DSLR. But in this case, a point and shoot camera versus a 1-inch sensor on a smartphone, we are actually in that territory. We are very close. So this is super exciting for me. Now from the pricing perspective, the 12S's prices have actually gone up. 3,700 yuan is where it started in the past, but now it's 4,000. Whereas the 12S Pro is the same price as the 12 Pro. So that's not changed. So if by chance this launches in India, it should come in at about the same price as the 12 Pro if the 12S Pro does launch. But then the price of entry has been, they are pushing it up. There was a 12X that was cheaper. There is no 12SX. I wonder what they'd call it if they launched a special edition of the X. Anyways, let's not go there. But the price of entry has gone up, but at least the 12S Pro is the same price as the 12 Pro. And the 12 Ultra as well, the 12S Ultra, or whatever they're calling it. The Ultra is the Ultra, 1-inch sensor, yay, excited. Vivo IQOO 10 series is launching globally. July 19th is the event. 8 Plus Gen 1. Oh, I keep getting confused, I'm so sorry. 8 Plus, Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1. RedMagic has their 7S and 7S Pro coming out. That should happen this week. And Realme has a GT2 Explorer Master Edition. All we know is this one is launching July 12th as well, and Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1. So a lot of Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1s coming out. Next is, okay, we are gonna, like I said, I take your feedback. I'm gonna move away from phones a little bit. Just covering the phone launches and whatnot. So Windows Subsystem for Android has gotten an update, so a little bit more to do with finding devices on the network and whatnot. In case you're not familiar, this basically lets you run APKs on your Windows machine. It's currently in a beta stage, but it's only available in North America if you are an insider, but you could still get it to work anywhere in the rest of the world if you just look up tutorials and whatnot, which is beyond the scope of this video. But hey, they are working on it. What this shows is that Microsoft is paying attention to it. It will roll out globally, after which, you know, running Android in Windows, Android apps in Windows might not be something you really want to do, but sometimes with certain things, apps are available only with Android. So those things, being able to do it on your laptop might be beneficial. For me personally, there are certain streaming apps that I use. For example, Syncler, which is not really available. There are Windows alternatives like Streamio that I use from time to time, but I do like how Syncler is set up and I like using it a lot. So that's something I like using on Windows. I like using Windows Subsystem for Android for that. So there are, from time to time, you could come across apps like that you would want to use, and this is good news for those who want that. Anyways, moving on, the next thing, okay, the next thing is, if you're a fan of Destiny, a game by Bungie, they are working on a version for Android. Now, Bungie was recently purchased by Sony, so maybe they're trying to do things a little differently. So good news is it could be coming to Android, but the bad news is, if you're somebody who hated Diablo Immortal because of all the microtransactions that it had. You know, I read something where it said you need to spend something like $110,000 on Diablo Immortal if you wanted to buy everything they had on offer with the microtransactions, which is just insane. Now, the weird part, the not so good part is that NetEase, the developers that co-developed Diablo Immortal with Blizzard, those are the same guys that Bungie is teaming up with for Destiny. So expect a game that looks great, that plays great, at least initially, but is also going to be loaded to the brim with microtransactions, just like Diablo. At least that's what I think is going to happen. Now, in other news, Xiaomi Book Pro 2022 has been announced in China alongside the Xiaomi 12S series and the Mi Band 7 Pro, or the Xiaomi Band 7 Pro. So this one has a OLED screen, 16-inch has 4K, HDR 400, the 14-inch has 2.8K but HDR 500, a little brighter. 1.5 kgs is what it starts at, and the price begins at 5,900 yuan. That's $880, 845 euros, or 69,500 rupees converted. So it's an OLED, a very portable OLED laptop in case you're interested. So that's another interesting thing to launch. So those are pretty much all the highlights, pretty much everything I kind of found interesting in the last week. If there's something I missed, if there's something that you want me to add for future videos, what do I mean add? Sorry guys, that's just force of habit. If there's something else you would have wanted me to add in this video, please let me know so that I get an idea of what kind of things you're looking for so that I can implement that in future videos. I'm so sorry. So anyway, that's that. But then last week I did promise that from this week, from the next week on, I am gonna be including your questions. Whatever questions you have, tweet it out with hashtag WWAsh after, let's say, Wednesday or Thursday, and I would pick that. So this week I have a few questions picked. I'm just stalling so that I can get to those questions. Okay, I'm so sorry. Weekends with Ash, episode 2, questions. And let's go to the questions now, guys. I read your feedback. Some people wanted me to keep the news part of it to under 15 minutes. I don't think that has happened this week, and that's not priority for me right now. Right now, I want to kind of set a schedule. I really loved doing Ash Answers in the past. Now, when I think about YouTube in general, there are a lot of things that are kind of demotivating, but one of the things I always loved is interacting with people. And if you look at Ash Answers at a point where we were doing, 1,000 comments or 500,000 comments a video, I would have replied to at least 70-75% of it. I really love doing it. So I before kind of nitpicking and getting too in my head about times and I gotta wrap this up, rush it, I just want to be natural and talk about the things I want to talk about and interact with how many ever people are watching. So that's so I do hear you on the timelines, wanting to shrink down the video, but as of now I'm just focusing more on getting the video out every week. But as time progresses, I'll either shrink it or push it. I don't know. I will take a call on it, but right now I don't really want to do the video with that thing in my head saying, rush it. So it's not that I've not heard you. That's what I'm trying to say. Anyways, okay, now questions. The first one, no one is talking anymore about pricing of brands. It's getting costlier and costlier. Do we really need these powerful smartphones? Why reviewer don't directly answer versus videos? Like this phone versus this phone, they always recommend based on our needs. Now, you can't really say, there is never a straight answer to this phone versus this phone. Now let's say off the top of my head, I do a ROG Phone 6 versus S22 Ultra. Okay, now I've not really compared them side by side, but going off experience, I'm gonna say the ROG is gonna throttle lesser, as in it's gonna be able to sustain peak performance for longer. It's also gonna have the better battery life, but it's got the higher refresh. But I would prefer the S22 Ultra for the S Pen. It would most definitely have better cameras. It's probably one of my favorite cameras on a smartphone. And Samsung will support the software longer. That's at least promises wise. Asus has 2 years, Samsung has 3. So that's another advantage for Samsung. The form factor, usability, I would kind of lean towards Samsung because it just feels not as heavy. I don't know the exact weight at the top of my head, but it feels a little lighter. Probably because I always use the ROG with the case. I don't know. But any which ways, so now if you're somebody, let's say if I tell you the S22 Ultra is the better phone and you're someone who actually games a lot more and you want the battery life and you want those sustained peak performances, so why should you be paying more and buying an S22 Ultra? It makes no sense. And if I, as a YouTuber, just came out and said, buy the S22 Ultra, that's the better phone, that's me being biased. I'm taking my use cases and shoving it on you. Now, if I said the reverse of it and say, buy the ROG Phone 6 or the 6 Pro, that is the better phone. Why? Because it's got better performance and whatnot. Again, that's what I would want. And I would be passing on my biases and my expectations or what I want onto you. And I don't think that's what a YouTuber needs to do. My job, in my eyes, is to basically portray the positives and negatives of both phones when I'm doing a comparison, and then tell you if these are your use cases, then this could probably be a better fit for you. And if these are your use cases, this other thing could probably be a better fit for you. I think that's why YouTubers don't always just directly answer versus videos and recommend based on your needs. And I think that is the way people are supposed to be doing it. If you disagree, let me know why. What else do you think I could do in a comparison video? How else would you like for me to go about that conclusion? Let me know. And hey, I will try to incorporate it. That's the reason we do this, right? Ask you for feedback. It's only to actually get the feedback. It's not, yes, the engagement in the comments does help the videos, but let's be real, right? This video is gonna do around 5,000, 6,000 views, regardless of what the comments are gonna be. Just because I get 20 extra comments is not gonna make it a 30,000 view video, or just because you don't comment is not gonna make it a 1,000 view video. It's gonna be 5,000, 6,000. But then that said, Last week, the first episode, I thought I went in aiming for 3,500 views realistically, and it did twice that. So thank you. Thanks for everybody watching. A lot of positive comments makes me want to do this. You know, there are days where I don't want to. I kind of feel like, probably should call it quits, or should probably just, you know, focus on the one channel that is working instead of splitting myself across two. But guys, I honestly enjoy. There are days where I enjoy doing it, so I want to keep doing it. Anyways, okay. Next question: does smartphone camera collaboration with optic brands result in better photography and videography quality? See, I'm not against the collaboration. Sometimes it's turned out to be really good. I can't remember which one. The Leica partnerships with Huawei. Initially, that's what kind of gave Huawei the legitimacy, the fact that, you know, it's got Leica on it, but then they ran with it. They did really good with the cameras. Sometimes these also end up being just there for the sake of it, just for marketing. In those places, I don't really like it. As of now, it's a mixed bag. Sometimes with certain blad, collaborations, it doesn't really work out. It's just there for marketing. But certain times with certain others, it actually works out. So go on. I wouldn't, as a consumer, I tell you not to pay extra just because that branding is there. If you feel the phone's cost has been pushed to just put that branding over there, don't pay extra. But if the cameras are actually good, then hey, by all means, it's good. Okay, next up, ROG 6 is launched at a ridiculously high price. Does it justify to buy a ROG phone for gaming at 72K when I could get a PS5 or a good gaming PC if I shell out a little more? Now, this is something I really don't agree with. You know, commonly you see people, they see something that's more expensive than they actually want to, that costs more than what they want to spend on. Immediately, randomly pick something else. I would rather buy that. I mean, it really doesn't work that way, right? Now, for somebody who doesn't want a PS5, 50,000 rupees, 50,000 rupees, I would rather buy a used bike. You could, but that's not going to play games on it. Similarly, it's horses for courses. So what is it that you want to do? If what you want to do is play mobile games, okay, I'm totally against it. I'm not a mobile gamer. I don't like the in-app purchase, the freemium model. I feel that is everything that's wrong with the world, and that's kind of bleeding into consoles, bleeding into PC games, and it's ruining gaming for everybody. So I hate microtransactions, and I'm very, very against in-app purchases. So the freemium model, not for me. But then that is what the majority of people are playing. So that is why you know, Bungie, Blizzard, all these big studios are trying to get into the mobile, aspect of things. Because, what is that? Nintendo, the first time, Super Mario Run, they tried not doing freemium. They offered one level free. They charged $10 for the game. And it was critically well received. But it was a commercial flop for Nintendo, which is why like Mario Kart and all the other games, which are being played a lot more than Super Mario Run ever was, and has generated a lot more income for Nintendo. Now that kind of justifies them doing the in-app purchases. Any which ways, now I'm kind of going off on a tangent. What I mean to say is that is a huge market for these freemium games. While yes, you and I would love playing on the PS5 more than playing say Diablo Immortal on a phone, there are a lot more people doing it. When there are a lot more people doing it, these people who are doing it want to do it better. Then there is a market being created for it. There is a niche being created for it. Then there are going to be brands who are going to want to fill that niche. So the fact that the ROG Phone 6 exists at 72K, I understand why it exists. Now, if you are somebody who doesn't like gaming on a phone, then you shouldn't get it. You should just get a Samsung phone or a Xiaomi or whatever floats your boat. This kind of ties in very neatly to my previous answer on why in a comparison there is never a clear winner. So now about the price, I don't know what does actually justify a pricing. Is the brand name that justifies the price? Because I thought we don't really look at the brand names when we are, as a consumer, we are looking at it. We are looking at what is in said phone. And over here, 165 hertz screen, it's a really good screen. It's a really well optimized Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1. It has 90% stability on 3D Mark, Wildlife Extreme. That's really, those are good numbers. Sustained performance. If you want a game, that's probably what you should get. And also the Kunai gamepad add-ons and everything. It's my favorite phone, guys. The ROG 5, the 5S, I've said it many times that those have been my go-to gaming phones. While I don't play mobile games, as in the freemium ones, I do have Play Pass. I do play some games on it. And the ports that come on over, like for example, Dead Cells, Streets of Rage 4, I really love playing that on mobile. And again, streaming from a console with the Kunai gamepad, it's a pleasant experience. So yeah, anyways, now let's keep it simple. If you had to recommend a phone under 30-35 for someone who only buys a new phone every 3 to 4 years, what would you say? I would say nothing for now. And not the nothing phone, I would say nothing, as in I wouldn't suggest anything right now, because the Pixel 6a is just around the corner and that is supposed to have a Google Tensor chip. So I would wait and see. I don't know if it's gonna come in this segment, but I would wait and see what Google does with that before I make any suggestions on what to get at 30 to 35. Right now, I really like the Realme GT2 at that price point. But I would still, if I was the end consumer, I would hold off and see what the Pixel 6a has to offer before jumping on anything. When Poco F1 was launched, it was criticized a lot for its build as it was plastic. But nowadays, even some mid-range flagships come with plastic build and no one talks about it. What's your take on it? Now, first off, I don't think the Poco F1 was ever criticized for having a plastic build. It was pointed out, it was said, yes, it's plastic, but it's got, they've cut corners there, but they're still offering a flagship 845 or 845 on it, so the performance is great. This is for people who don't care about the build. That's because 2018 was a little different than 2022. 2018 or whenever it launched, things were a little different, because at that point, that's when brands were going for glass and metal on their mid-rangers, and that's something that was a premium phone thing, and they were even doing it on mid-rangers. At that point, we were even seeing budget phones with a glass back, which slowly kind of moved into, we've got we've got dual tone finishes, we've got that whole puke of colors, so color changing backgrounds and everything, and then that kind of deviated back into plastic, and now that's going upwards to even super flagship phones. Like for example, the base S Galaxy phone still had a plastic back. So that's how things changed. So back in 2018 when this phone came out, 2018, right? Whichever year this phone came out, at that point the mid-ranges were a lot of mid-ranges were having glass packs. So this was a little bit in contrast, where it is not really a budget phone, as in it's a premium phone with respect to the chip, but then it still had a very, very mediocre back, let's say that. It's one of my favorite phones of all time. The price at which it launched with the chip it had inside. I mean, today, Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 with a plastic back at 30,000 rupees, I'll take it. Let's say 10,000 for all the, it launched at 20, let's say 30 right now because of inflation, because of the value of the rupee dropping and all that. 35,000 Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 with as good a camera relatively as the Poco had, without ads. I take it. I definitely take it. Now, nowadays, even some mid-range flagships, why no one talks about it? It's just because the trends have changed. These days, it's kind of become more common. People still do mention it. People still do talk about it. With some phones which are obviously overpriced, well, you can't really talk about it and still get paid by the brands, right? So, of course, you're going to say 13 things or be a very honest whatever. It's probably people's geeky way of not really talking about stuff. I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. I try to point it out whenever I know. Sometimes it's one weird time I actually tried scratching it. It didn't scratch. It felt like glass, and then I thought, you know what, I'm not going to say anything. Turns out it was plastic. Yay, way to screw us. Brands don't tell us that. Sometimes it's very figuring out, okay, people have this question, why didn't you mention the sensor? I don't know what the sensor is. That's why I didn't mention a sensor, because brands typically do not tell us what it is. You can't really open up an app and figure it out before launch. It doesn't really work that way. So when I don't have the info in an unboxing, sometimes if I don't tell you something, it's because I don't know. I reach out to the brand, I try to find it. But then again, on phones that I buy, I import when the phones have already been globally launched, or at least launched in certain markets, the information becomes available. That's when I actually go into detail and share it. Reviews, I will share all that. Frankly speaking, how many photos do you take every day, and out of them, how many would you store with you, and how many photos would you upload on social media? If my Instagram is something to go by, I don't even upload stuff. I keep forgetting to do it. I'm very bad when it comes to social media, probably why my numbers are what they are. How many photos I take? I take a crap ton of photos because I've got two very young cats. So I don't know, I keep taking pictures. I don't really post them on socials. I just upload them to my Google Photos, so that I could look back on it at some point, which I do. I took a lot of pictures of my dog in the past, and I still, from time to time, look at it and whatever. So yeah, for social media, I don't really post as much as I should. I probably should do better, but I don't. Photos, I think I'll take anywhere between 15 to 20 photos a day. If I'm going to be testing the camera performance, then I take 100, 150. The video would have only 10 or 15 pictures, but then I take a lot. Every shot I take them 4 or 5 times. So that's kind of how it works. And those are all the questions I picked for today. And I think we've kind of overrun. We really didn't, because I don't even know what timing I was going for. Any which ways, guys, if you've made it to this point, thank you for putting your trust in me and watching this video, trusting me enough to be actually interested in what I have to say. So what do you think I could have done differently with this video? I kind of feel personally the last 5 minutes is where I felt the energy level dropping for myself. I want to do this video for as long as I'm able to be energetic. The last 5 minutes, 7 minutes, I feel like, oh, okay, I think this might have gone on a little too long. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts, whatever inputs you have, let me know in the comments, and I definitely will read through all that. I'll try to get back to as many as possible and incorporate as much as possible into the next video. So I guess that's pretty much it. Thumbs up, thumbs down, based on whatever you felt about it. Till next time, thanks for watching. My name's Ash. You've been watching C4E Tech, and I'm signing off for now. You guys have a great day. Bye-bye.